Hello, Econ. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, we have an opportunity of a lifetime to learn about opportunity costs and trade-offs. So we've learned a little bit about what economics is, define that. We've also learned about choices and scarcity. Now, the next logical thing is to learn about opportunity costs, trade-offs, and what all that means for you as a consumer every day, but also just for ag in general. So to do this, we're going to refer back to our prom planning example by doing prom 2.0. We are going to learn about opportunity costs and trade-offs, as mentioned. And then we're going to be making some new decisions and talk about what it means to think at the margin and make decisions by thinking about costs and benefits. Okay. So our objectives for the day, we will be able to compare and contrast trade-offs and opportunity costs. We will be able to identify examples of qualitative and quantitative opportunity costs in your own personal life. And we will be able to evaluate options when making decisions by thinking at the margin. So it's going to be a great day. So looking back at our example from yesterday of prom planning, we remembered that our budget was $9,635 on the nose. Okay. We went about making our decisions in a variety of different ways. So below here, I pasted the decisions that I made when I was doing this activity myself. You can go ahead and refer to yours when we're thinking about this, or you can look at my example, whichever you want. But for me, I'm a sucker for some good music. It was a little bit too much for me to pay $6,000 something for a band, but $5,000 seemed pretty reasonable for the budget that we had. The venue is pretty important to me. I didn't think having it in a high school cafeteria or gym would be my first choice. So picking a nice middle of the road hotel inn was a nice option for us. And refreshments and decorations, I didn't think it was necessary to spend $5,000 on an after meal catered supper or after prom catered supper, because that just seemed a little bit unrealistic and expensive when we can go out to restaurants and have more choices and options and probably be a little bit cheaper that way. So $9,635, that's how I allocated it. Made me happy. But again, as we talked about in the previous lesson, choices are different for every person and the way they perceive them is different. So there's really no right or wrong answer as long as you're within the budget. But we all have our own different ways of going about making our decisions, whether that be through asking other people what they think or taking our own personal opinions into account, putting emphasis on band versus venue versus refreshments, okay? So we see in this example, there were some things that we had to give up in order to get what we wanted, whether that was money or spending more energy or money on one element of the prom versus another. Okay, trade-offs are all the alternatives that we give up whenever we choose one course of action over any other. Opportunity cost, on the other hand, is the options we forego in making a decision and the tangible or intangible value of the next best thing. So all individuals and groups of people, regardless of occupation, regardless of status or background, we all make decisions that involve trade-offs every day. We have a nice quote over to the right by Lenton Joseph, and it reads, "Life is a trade-off between our dreams and comfort zone. If you go pursuing your dreams, you may sacrifice something in your comfort zone. Ultimately, our life is a result of our choices." So when you apply for your first big kid job, or when you decide to go make your first big purchase like a car or a house or something like that, okay, you are giving things up. You are giving up your money, your time, your resources. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you and the people around you as well. Okay, so this quote is kind of a nice little reminder that opportunity costs and trade-offs are definitely a concept that can be applied to everyday life, which is why we learn about it in Ag Econ. Okay, so now let's put our flexibility caps on. Imagine that your initial plans do not work out. The band unfortunately came down with the flu. They're unavailable to perform anymore. The venue burned down in a catastrophic fire, and the caterer we selected is now double booked. Okay, so we have to go and eliminate all of the options that we had before and start from scratch. So you got some new decisions to make. Based on your prom selections, identify a trade-off or a next best option for your band, your venue, and your refreshments decorations. Remember, you have to stay within the $9,635 budget. I put together this table again on a slide so you can hit pause, make your selections, and we'll discuss in a second. So now that you've gone ahead and made your decisions, let's go ahead and see what your initial selections were versus the trade-off. So for me, I initially picked the national debt for the band the Inn on the Hill for the venue, and the catered fancy option for refreshments and decorations. But because all of those options were now unavailable, I had to do a trade-off, okay? So I decided with my trade-off to put more emphasis on band. So I upped the money on the band to $6,500 and went with the PTA. Same thing with the venue. I decided, you know what, we had $9,000, a little over that. Why might as well use all of it for as much as we can. So I bumped up the Two Seasons Hotel, but where I went down again was in the catering. Okay, because earlier you may recall me mentioning that I didn't think that it made much sense to spend $5,000 on a catered meal following the prom. So I went ahead with the cheaper option. Okay, so my trade-off was getting more expensive band, more expensive venue, but having a little less fancy catering and decorations. Okay, so hopefully you kind of see that. You can go ahead if you made your own initial selection, kind of compare what you selected for your trade-offs and that initial selection. Where did you go up? Where did you go down? Did you fall within the budget still? Those are all trade-offs that are made. So opportunity costs then come in two different forms. We have qualitative opportunity costs and we have quantitative opportunity costs. Okay, so qualitative opportunity cost compares the intangible feeling or quality of your choice to the intangible value of the next best thing. Quantitative, on the other hand, compares the physical, tangible value of your choice to the physical, tangible value of the next best thing. Okay, so we're going to learn a little bit how to calculate this when we go into our productions possibilities frontier or curve unit in a little bit. But for now, can you think of some examples of qualitative or quantitative opportunity costs in your prom planning example? Maybe hit pause, think about it. For me, quantitatively, I had to give up some of my money that I had allocated for my catering and decorations and allocate that and redistribute that to the venue and to the band, okay? Because that's where I chose and chose to give up. I chose to give up a little bit on that catered decoration and refreshment section, okay? Qualitative opportunity cost then maybe because there's less food, people aren't going to want to come to prom. So the quality of the prom is going to degrade for some people. They're not going to feel as welcome or at home, or it's not going to be as fun or living up to the theme that we decided for the prom because there's not a fancy Eiffel Tower, fancy whatever decorations that we have for whatever the theme is. Okay, so maybe people are feeling a little less welcome, at least in terms of the decorations, but maybe this is attracting a whole new crowd of people because there's a more fancy band that's going to be coming and DJing and playing some songs for us. So again, trade-offs, opportunity costs kind of go hand in hand in here. Okay, so this is where we apply it to our own lives, and I have a little bit of a scenario for you guys here to walk through. Okay, imagine that it's Thursday night and Karen has a big Econ test during first hour Friday, and she does not want to blow it because she did not do so hot on the last one. She's already swamped on Thursday night between her dentist appointment that's long overdue and chores that she has at home. It just never ends. And also the homework she happened to procrastinate on that just happens to be due at midnight tonight. So she knows that after working on all of this, and it's going to be 12:01, she's going to turn that Spanish homework in. She's going to be exhausted. Okay? So she doesn't want to study until 3 a.m. That's just not her thing. Okay, so she knows that she needs to have one of two options. She can either go ahead and she can sleep in and not study and just go into the test, or option number 2, wake up a little bit early to study. So now it's time for us to help Karen out and make a little bit of a matrix. So here we have this table. I'd encourage you to grab out a piece of paper and make this table for yourself and walk through it as we discuss. So obviously her two options are sleeping in late, number 1, or number 2, waking up early to study. I want you to identify the benefits, decision that she's making, opportunity cost, and the benefits foregone for both of these options, okay? So go ahead, hit pause, take your best guess, and we'll go over the answers in a minute. Okay, so now that you've done this on your own, let's take a look and see what we came up with. So for me personally, benefits of sleeping in late, I'm going to be well rested and I'm going to feel energized and ready to go for that test, whether I do hot on it or not so hot on it. Okay. The decision that I made obviously was sleeping in late. Don't overthink that. It's a pretty easy one. Opportunity cost, the value of what I'm giving up, is that knowledge that I'm missing out. Okay. I'm not going to be as prepared for the exam. Benefits foregone, maybe I'm going to get a lower grade. Maybe my mom or dad or teacher are going to be disappointed in me. I might not feel satisfied in myself because I didn't live up to my potential to rock that Ag Econ exam. Okay? Now, going over to waking up early to study. Benefits of that. Flip side of the benefits forgone of sleeping in late. I feel prepared and I know my material inside and out. I'm going to make mom and dad proud. They're going to put that sucker on the fridge. It's going to be a good day. Maybe a third benefit too is my teacher's going to be proud of me and I'm going to be proud and satisfied with myself for showing them that I can live up to their expectations. Decision, obviously, waking up 1, 2, 3, however many hours early to study for that test. Opportunity cost, I'm giving up that sleep. I'm not going to be able to sleep as much. And benefits foregone, I am giving up the ability to be well rested and mentally prepared for that test, okay? So it kind of compares to that answer key here that I have here. You might have answers that differ a little bit. That's okay. There's really no concrete black or white answer here. So just some stuff to consider. So this is where we get into thinking on the margin or thinking at the margin. When you decide how much or less to do and the impact of those decisions, you are thinking at the margin. So it's important to think at the margin in this specific scenario to know how much energy do I have to put into this if I'm actually going to study to get the outcome that I want to achieve. And this is going to vary from person to person. Some people can crack open a textbook and look over some things, they have photogenic memories, and boom, they get an A on the test, no problem. Other people really have to put in a lot of time and study, and it's a little bit more challenging, and that's okay. You just have to know internally how much time you need to invest to achieve your desired outcome. So an example I have for you is when I was in college, I'm kind of a math nerd. I put together spreadsheets for each of my classes tracking my grades, kind of like the option that's on Canvas for those of you who use Canvas, and adjusted what grades I could get on my final exam or final project or final papers or whatever I had going on to get the desired grade in the class. I also took into account like missing my friends, socializing, other things on my mind besides just academics to see, okay, what is the bare minimum or the maximum I can do to get the desired grade or outcome. That's thinking at the margin. That's deciding how much effort am I going to put into this and what's the payout going to be. So obviously we all want to get 100% on everything. We want to do our absolute best, but when we have a lot going on, we have to know how to redistribute and allocate our time. And economists encourage us to utilize our time effectively and our resources effectively. And that's what we do by thinking at the margin. So go ahead, hit pause here, fill in this table, think of the benefits possibly of studying 1, 2, or 3 hours and the potential opportunity costs of those. For benefits, give you a hint, think grades. So think, what grade could I get if I get 1 hour versus 3 hours of studying? An opportunity cost, what are you giving up for that first hour, second, third? Okay, hit pause real quick. All right, so going ahead here, that first hour of extra study time, the benefit, we're going to get a C on the test. I know that if I get an hour of studying in, I am very likely to get a C on the test. Second hour, maybe I'll get a B on the test. And third hour, I'll crank out a B plus if I study for that third hour, but the opportunity cost falls right in line. First hour study time, we lose an hour of sleep. Second hour, 2 hours. Third hour, 3 hours of sleep. Okay. Now, you might be asking, why didn't you go to an A for the third hour of studying or an A minus? Well, maybe between that second and third hour, you yourself are becoming exhausted or tired. You are cramming information that you've already looked at before. You're just not getting as much return on what you're investing. We'll talk about that a little bit later too in the semester and talk about utility and all of that stuff. That relates perfectly to this concept. So keep this in your back pocket for when we get there. But over time, your outcome is going to diminish. At least that's what the theories of economics tell us. So that's why we think at the margin. And for me, when I look at this matrix, I'm like, I'm going to study for 2 hours, get a B on the test, and get some sleep and not just waste 3 hours of sleep on studying, okay? Now, hopefully by the end of this, you are able to compare and contrast trade-offs and opportunity costs. You're able to identify examples of qualitative and quantitative opportunity costs in your own life. And of course, evaluate options when thinking at the margin. Please let us know if you have any questions or concerns on the content. Hopefully this is a great applicable topic you can keep in your back pocket and use in your daily life and maybe even apply to your classes this semester. Have a great rest of your day.